I'm poaching people now from the editorial side because I'm like Suge Knight, like yo, y'all tired of I mean, not getting your notes on time. Yo, come on over to VFX.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Post in Black. My name is David Hunter Jr., and I'm here to help you celebrate Black excellence behind the lens. Today, we are excited to have Bill Hudson with us. Bill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, man. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Oh, man. It's exciting to have you. And as you know, always with Post in Black, we like to start with a little icebreaker. The icebreaker I have for you today, if you could change places with anybody in the world, who would you change places with and why?
Man, I would probably trade places with maybe Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Okay.
And,
why would you trade places with Brother Musk?
I feel like somebody that has that many resources or capital, I feel like I probably can reutilize. One, to see how he got it, and then two, to see how we can really utilize it to help, some things that are more important that's happening in the world.
I like what you say, to utilize what he has and then probably use it for, more important things in the world. That's better what I was going to say. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want a new Tesla too. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was going to say.
The richest man, rich more than, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett combined, so that kind of assets,
Look, the other day I was looking at something and they said recently our brother that runs Facebook, they said he lost like $35 billion. And I was like, in a day? And I'm like, to him, that's like 30 cents out of a dollar. You know what I mean? And I'm like, to have 35 billion to lose, and there's a lot of paper, money and all that stuff. But just the fact that you can lose that is crazy to me.
I mean, the fact you can lose it and still be like, well, I ain't hurting. You know what I mean?
Right. Hey, you speaking to something there. Well, no, man, that's a really good note. And we just want to thank you for joining us on Post in Black. Obviously, we've been a fan of your work and following you over the past couple of years. Would you mind telling the people about yourself, your name, where you're from, and what it is that you do specifically?
Oh, yeah. First of all, thank you guys for having me. Been a fan of you guys' work because most people don't know that is Black people in post-production, whether it's on the editing side, color, sound, and visual effects. So thank you guys for what you do. And just like I said, happy to be here. My name is Bill Hudson. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. After being a fan of, I'm from Baltimore, but I'm a visual effects producer now. And I was going to say that growing up there, you're a fan of the art and things like that. It took me, out of the city. So I'm great.
Yeah. Baltimore is definitely a tough. It's a gritty city for sure. So you know what I mean.
And make sure, make sure tough, baby.
Be more careful. Is that what they say?
Exactly.
But I guess growing up out there, we'll start there a little bit. How was it like growing up in Baltimore, and then you saying getting an interest in the work and what you do? Because obviously, I think there's a lot that's happened in between that time. But what was it like growing up in Baltimore? What got you, looking into film?
Basically, growing up there, you just hanging out. Things you don't realize till you get older, like how bad things are. But when you're in it, you're just in it. But I know when it was time to just graduate high school, you got, they meet with the counselor and they say, hey, you need to pick a career, pick a trade, things like that. Think about college. And they used to say, well, if you're going to go, you should pick something you like to do. You know what I mean? And then I remember like playing video games all the time, like big fan of Madden, 2K, all that. But when you play it, you used to see the credits roll up at the end. So I'm like, oh, somebody, gets paid to make this or whatever. So I started like thinking, I was like, okay, I think I might want to do that, make video games. But it's just an idea. You don't know how or whatever to go
Right.
about it.
Right.
And usually you try to do something safe, right? They say, oh, you should be like an electrician,
Yeah. Yeah.
carpenter, banker, things like that. And I
Right.
was just like, oh, you can pick a trade, electrician, electricity everywhere. Why not? You know what I mean?
Right.
But it
Right.
was not till I went to like a college fair. And I remember seeing Toy Story when it first came out. And I
Yeah.
remember like this is like different as far as animation goes. Like it's not the
Mhm.
3D style cell animation. I was like,
Right.
I think this is where it's going at. And so I went to a college fair. You got to find somewhere that teaches
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
And there was like all these regular booths set up with the little tables, the little bags and pens. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's cute. And then you go to this one booth and they got like 250-inch screen TVs just showing a reel of like graduates working
Oh
on
man.
Pirates of the Caribbean, Madden. And, I was like, what school is this? It's
Yeah.
called Fosse. And then once I saw that, I was like, all right, so now it's like an actual path to learn these set of skills, get a job, and then achieve what they do.
Nah, that's really fire. I like that. And that just, they talk about different types of learners, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like audio, hearing, and the visual and that video captivating you of like,
marketing, the
that
marketing.
yeah, that whoever set that up for that table, they were doing their job because they struck a chord. Now, obviously, you go to Full Sail.
Yeah.
Was it like what you thought it was going to be when you got there? What are some of the
Oh,
technical things that like it's easy. We see a video game, but like what were
yeah.
some things behind the scenes that you didn't know until you got there?
So it's more of like you learn that it's kind of like different fields of, like you think you're going for one thing and it's like, oh no, that's actually down the road or this.
Okay.
The biggest thing learned that animation was like used everywhere. And then like say you learn that it's actually kind of like 8 disciplines, 8, 9, because you
Okay.
have like a modeler, texture artist, a rigger, a lighter, they only do that one specific thing. So
Right.
you're going there learning it. And then once you understand the pipeline, animators and compositors,
Yeah.
you go through it and you realize, oh, you got to pick one discipline, but you realize it's used in video games. And then I going there to learn game art, but then we got this compositing class and they showed this Audi commercial where it was just like all CG, like if you
Oh,
couldn't tell. And it was like, okay, so now you get into the visual effects side. So I explained to the people, you have the Shrek, Toy Story kind of animation side.
yeah.
You have the visual effects animation like Transformers, Iron Man, things
Mm,
like that. But then you got learning, educational things, like even in self checkout, when they show the animation of putting $1 in, like somebody gets paid to make that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, it's used like everywhere. So
yeah.
that was like the biggest, like learning that, oh, it's bigger than just, oh, you want to make a game. You learning the skill set that can take, like you can pretty much do a lot of things with it.
Man, I mean, if this interview stopped right now, I think I've learned so much just about that. How excited were you to be in there, or was it overwhelming? You know what I mean? That's a lot of information and get at once.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like one of the mindset is like, yo, I just can't go back to Baltimore. So like while I'm here, I'm gonna learn everything that's offered to me. Yeah, I mean, he's
Sure.
already paid for it, by the way. You know what I mean? Because like
Yes, sir.
a pre-made program. So you once they got your money once you start. So it was just more of like I know the way I learn, if you show me, I practice it, then I got it. You know what I mean? It's just
Yes,
like
sir.
how it works. Like I'm a trained learner like that. So I was just
Yeah.
more, it's not enough time in the day, that was the challenge because it's a
Right.
24/7 school and you learn a new skill every month. So you're learning like modeling this month and the next month you might be learning animation. But
Yeah.
then after that, you know what I mean? And then
Right.
sometimes you got 2 classes, like Tuesday, Thursday, one. So it's trying to figure out the time and balance. And you realize it's not enough time to really master a skill set. So you had to figure out, oh, we about to sleep in the lab tonight. All right, cool. Take advantage
Man.
of resources. And so
Yeah, no, that's really fire, and I feel what you're saying. I think that's an advantage sometimes. Coming from some tough areas,
yeah,
we look at it as like, oh man, this is this, but you had more of an appreciation. It sounds like too once you got there, of like, look, I know what's going on back where I came from. I'm not
yeah,
about to blow this opportunity. I'm about to make this happen, and we're gonna get it going. So I definitely feel that. When you got there, the school itself. did you see a lot of other people like yourself, colored? Were the teachers, professors like you, or was, how did that look like? What is that like?
Yeah, it was a big different. I mean, because in Baltimore, I was a predominantly black city, and I was
Yes.
like, I did do like a semester at Morgan
Yeah.
State before
Morgan State. Yeah.
I went down there. And so the biggest difference is that like you are like the one, and like in a class of 30, it's like one or two of y'all, right? One or two black people.
Yeah.
And then you also learn that there's different types of black people. So then you got the other black people who like got the mohawk and the piercings and the trench coat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Skateboard. so, so you
Right.
just learn like, oh, we all it's different types. So just because they look like you didn't have the same, interests. But it
Right.
also showed that like other people, you kind of have this camaraderie. Like we all come from somewhere miles away, living away, first time living away from home, and also trying to graduate. So then you have that commonality. So then you start meeting other people that like, yeah, it's different from you, but it's not.
Yeah.
You don't see. They have recording arts there, obviously, because
Okay.
music.
Yeah. Right.
It's like 90% black people.
Yeah. Right.
But
Everybody
on
does
the
that.
animation film side, nah, like you didn't see. It was few of us there, but
Yeah.
it make you get out your comfort zone. Like now you have to
Yeah.
be cool with, you know what I mean, because they're in your group, in your class. So
It almost opens a door. People always joke. They joke with me and my brother because when his group of friends outside of like where we grew up, because we
yeah,
were from the DC area, so Northern Virginia. We lived in Maryland as well, so in
yeah,
PG, not Baltimore, but like
right,
PG. But
yeah,
like, yeah, and when people meet him, he went to like Berkeley College of Music. He was in the choir at the school and went this place. They see his friends would see him, and they're like, "Oh, you got a brother," and so they would expect me to be like him.
right,
And then you
right,
know, I went to HBCU.
right,
I went to this and all that. So when my friends met me, they're like, "Oh, we got to meet your brother." And it's
right.
like
Yeah,
two different types of black people, but
still
the-
dope. You know?
it opened up conversations, like you said, and allow you to have those conversations and maybe move the needle a little bit more. When you were in the class and you started to really click and you picked on one of the trades or the niches the niche that you liked. What was it about it that made you choose, okay, yeah, this is the one I want to hold on to, versus animation versus some of the other things?
At first it was when I took a lighting class. So lighting, I was drawn to lighting because that was like the key to getting things to look photorealistic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? With the shadows, the material, like how light bounces off things is like
Right.
that's how you can kind of tell if something is fake or not.
Right.
So I gravitated towards lighting and compositing because compositing was more it's usually at the end of the pipeline because you're taking
Yeah.
everything together and then putting it together over whatever. Um, and so like those two like kind of drew me in, but as I like that at least compositing, you was like the finisher, like you was like the last one to get everything and put it
Yeah.
together, you know what I mean, versus like you're just starting at one end, don't know what's happening over there, got to send something over,
Yeah.
so that's what kind of drew me to that, the compositing side of it.
Gotcha. Now you're down in Full Sail. What's it like now that you're almost finishing up? Because we're in
It's crazy.
LA now, but like you're
Yeah,
you're you're finishing up, and the goal is to get a job. When you go to
yeah.
school, you go, I was like, "Oh, I'll get a job." So did you always want to come to LA? Was it go to New York, or were you like, I'm going wherever the work is? Well, what was it like for you and that making that transition for your next step?
So, like I was saying, like by the time you leave or whatever, like once you graduate, like everything cuts off right then and there. Like the moment you graduate, that's it. Like so you but it's also so just to get to the final class, you have to make it
Yeah.
real. You have like portfolio class and a demo
Okay.
reel class. And
Yeah.
so you're like spending days and everything focusing on just getting your portfolio solid because that's what's going to get you hired. But
Right.
then you're not like really applying places. You know what I mean? Like you don't have the
Yeah.
time to really effectively be prepared when you get out
Yeah.
there. So the first time around, because I ended up getting stayed for the masters or whatever, I utilized the second time that I was there. Like, yo, once I graduate, I knew LA is basically the market for this. Like I know, like I
Yeah.
said, there's no animation in Baltimore. Florida was like it's a tourism city. I always say like
Right.
Orlando is more like it's a bunch of people implant there, but unless you want to work for Disney, as far as on the theme park side, not even like on that end, or you got a civil type like lawyers, like mad people I know, lawyers or teachers, things like that. That's pretty much where we'll be at in Orlando. So I was like, LA is the only place where you're going to get the return on this investment from
Right.
Sally Mae. So it was just trying to squeeze in every minute to make sure your reel was just solid, your portfolio was solid. That way you can be like the number one. Like that was the goal, be like number one draft pick when they were like, when
Yes,
you
sir.
we got a job waiting for you. Like I was trying to be that, but but
I feel you.
it was just an adjustment, just making sure you're ready once it's time to get out there.
Making sure you're ready once the time. What was your first job when you got to LA?
When I first got to LA, it was a job actually in San Jose. It was a tech company. One of our friends who went to Fosse, she was living up there, and they needed somebody to make some 3D assets. It was like some VR, virtual reality with the glasses, and you can pull stuff out the screen. But they needed assets to be made to become out the screen. So like cars and dinosaurs or whatever. And they just needed somebody. And that was cool because it was like, they said, oh, you could work remote, but we'll fly you out here every Friday to show your stuff off and things like that. So yeah.
I was gonna say that had to be all right. You're like, okay, I'll do that.
It was a nice experience, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, get used to this.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's really dope. And then when you were up, obviously Northern California, San Jose, then were you like, all right, man, I like this California life. Maybe I need to get out here, full time. Was it like that?
Well, no, because basically once I was out here, I was out here. So
okay.
When I first moved out here, I had to. You find out that like it's based on who you know, kind of deal. No matter how talented or your things, your real is. It's like if they don't see like another post house or facility or network that's here, they kind of like, go with somebody else. So I had to kind of basically start over. So I was at like Burlington Coat Factory, first job out here. It was like freelancing, doing like web design stuff and graphic design, logos here and there. Like, you need a website, 1,500, cool, I got you. You know what I mean? Just trying to make it until that's when I got the call to go up to there. But then when it came back, your contract then, it's like, But luckily, my homeboy, I learned that if you're out here in LA for at least a year, it kind of proves to everybody who already lives, because nobody wants to be responsible for your livelihood when you first move out here. So they just kind of like, yo, welcome to LA. All right, man, what you trying to do? Cool. It's like, yo, good luck with that. You know what I mean? Even if they try to help, they kind of like, I might know, but it never happens. But if you see them 1 year later, they start moving. Like, you know what? Let me hit up my boy. Y'all heard they looking. They start moving. I don't have to see to actually see, because it's like you're proving that I'm here to stay. You know what I mean? I'm here to grind and make it. So once you prove that, then it gets a little bit easier.
Oh, you are speaking facts right now. You're speaking facts, because it's funny, being here, how we almost do that to other people that move here now. You know what I mean?
Kind of like, oh
yeah. Look, I tell people all the time, I said, look, I have some friends and some people that are from LA, and they're not fake, but people from LA, it's just like, oh yeah, oh cool, that's nice. Because again, there's so many, it's so transient. People could be here today and then you'd be like, man, I'm out. And it's like, oh, you can't invest so much in something that's not going to be. So
exactly.
You got to make sure you are who you are.
And it helps that they're like, again, putting forth the effort. You know what I mean? A lot of people, nobody wants to come out and think somebody's just going to hand you a job. You know what I mean? Everybody you're networking with or meeting, they didn't do that. Very few people that get that opportunity. So you kind of like want to say like, oh yeah, once I see you've been out here grinding, trying to make it, or whatever, you just need the extra. Like people for this old saying that like, give somebody a ride if they see you walking. You know what I mean? Yeah. You walking, at least give you a ride. But if you
I love it. Yeah, man. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I was like, yeah. So like, boy, Dylan, after a year, he was at Nickelodeon, and he was like, yo, our PA just quit to go to like Pirates of the Caribbean. We need somebody ASAP. And I was like, say less. I'm available now.
and that almost, would you say, kind of sparked, the run that you've kind of been on, I mean, even up until now.
Yeah, the especially like trying to get from the artist transition from the artist side to the management side. Like
Yeah,
it was like I knew like you couldn't grow there because Nickelodeon, the way their system is like, oh, you're a PA, then you got to be an APOC back then, or then a
yeah,
PC, and then a social producer. But then they travel on a team in a pack, so
you still do
they like and they got kids, families. They like I ain't going nowhere. Wherever she go, we going.
all day, all day.
So it was like, and I like wanted to be in the artist side anyway. So as soon as the show wrapped, I think it was also new companies, new production companies that's looking for talent. They
Mhm.
kind of don't care as long as you can do the work. At least that's the
Right,
thing about the artist side. If you could do the work, you can get in.
right.
So thanks to like, I think it was like Staff Me Up was like the go-to like to
Yeah,
find gigs like that, and end up getting a first design job over in West Hollywood. It was like an internet, like kind of like but for the internet, basically. It's
yeah,
like daily news, Hollywood news, but they needed a graphics guy to do the graphics packages and things like that. So
yeah.
once you get the one, then
It kind of sparks.
start
Yeah.
rolling.
Yeah, and you talk about getting to one, and if people are just following you now or aware of your work, there's
Yeah,
a list of credits, and I would I if I the problem that you get into when you start naming stuff is that you forget. So
right.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
But yeah, you have a list of so many credits that you've won, or been on and worked on. What
yeah,
has there been like a memorable cut that you worked on that stuck with you that was like, oh, when I cut on this
yeah,
project, because I started from the Nickelodeon doing this, but then I got
yeah.
the job over there. Now I'm like cooking. I, has there been something that's been memorable to you over the years?
uh, yeah, like usually, like the first show like I got to actually like produce on was like from the producer side was Betty for HBO,
Okay.
because it was like the challenge of producing this show that's on the East Coast, but here in LA, but also knowing that you it's going to help you set up for the next thing. You know what I mean? So you want to do a
Right.
good job, and you want to. So when you sacrifice a little sleep here and there, do a little extra work to get it done when it actually airs and people like it, it's kind of like you appreciate like, oh, the journey and the destination, as they say. So
Yeah.
I think Betty season 2 was most memorable one. So
Got you. And I guess even going into that, kind of going back and in the future, what has been like, I guess, a piece of advice that somebody has given you or that stayed with you over the time? Because there's a lot of people don't understand entertainment. They see the finished product, but there's a lot of in between time. There's a lot of transitions. And
yeah,
and obviously sometimes it could be hard when you're in between and trying to figure out that next move, that next step. What has
yeah.
been a piece of advice that's been helpful to you that's kind of kept you going throughout all this time to even where you're at now?
I mean, it's like a lot of different things, little nuggets of gems that help different situations, scenario. The
Yeah,
overall one is just always just the work, like put in the work on your craft to be solid at what you do. Because no
right.
matter what, at the end of the day, you're going to be accountable for what you do. So if you master that, then the rest will take care of itself in that sense. So
Yeah,
just always trying to be better. I mean, don't
yeah,
get comfortable. That's usually the kind of hand in hand some people do once they get it. But I'm more like, once you get it, I'm trying to like stay. You know what I mean? That's the hardest thing. People like, oh, it's hard to get in. It's like, nah, once you get in now, you gotta stay, because you can
yeah,
you got it, you can get bumped. You know what I mean? So
yeah. You don't just want a job, you want a career. You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Exactly.
You want to be long standing in the industry. And you mentioned something too, and I want people to understand if they're listening or they're watching. You've worked VFX, even behind the scenes animation, all this, but then you talked about management and producing. Can you tell people exactly what you do? Because you named about 4 titles. Like where are you at? Because Bill, you sound
Yeah.
like you're
I
doing it
did
all.
a, I did a little bit of everything. I told you I
Yeah,
had to learn a skill set to make sure I don't go back, baby.
yes, sir.
So I started off as an artist, so as a compositor doing music videos. I was like a 3D artist. So any type of green screen you see rappers performing, they was like, oh, we want a car in the background or a city. Doing that for a while, but then music industry budgets got cut. They stopped wanting to pay. It's like, nah, this
Yeah,
ain't for me. When
yeah,
I came out here, because I had to start over, like people don't know, visual effects kind of like it's one of the most volatile market. It was like very volatile back in 2008.
ooh,
Like
ooh,
companies were going bankrupt basically because studios used to basically squeeze them out. Like, oh, get more work, but not pay. So usually if you be like, hey, we want Iron Man to look like this, and next thing you know, they say, you know what, we're changing the whole design. We need it done in two weeks. And the company would say, normally say, oh, it's a charge for the change. But it was
Right.
like, it's me, it's Iron Man. And if you can do it, do us a favor, because we got Iron Man 2 coming out. And the company would do it or spend the money, take out, and the next thing you know, they were like, oh, the director got fired or whatever, or something happened where the Iron 2 ain't happening for like another
Oh,
year or 2 years.
oh,
So then the
no.
studio now,
No
got to
money.
go
Yeah.
bankrupt. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it was a movie, Life of Pi. The studio who did that, Rhythm and Hughes, won an Oscar for Best VFX for The Tiger. And then
Yeah.
literally the next day after they won an Oscar, went bankrupt. So after understanding like, oh, all right, the economics of this business, I
Yeah.
switched to do motion graphics because that's
Okay.
everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's like when I left the PA gig, relearned After Effects, Cinema
Yeah.
4D. Maya, you can learn Cinema 4D, and just doing graphic packages like that. And so went from that side to realizing visual effects. Now that TV has grown to what it is, that is
Yeah.
now visual effects is kind of like a sustainable industry out here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I said, but if I'm gonna go, I don't want to be staying up late working on the computer like 3 o'clock, forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting old. So I was like, I
Yeah.
need to kind of start seeing what's life after being on an artist route. And that's when I was like, all right, I need to get on a path of being a producer. So
Mhm.
I ended up becoming a visual effects coordinator first at a vendor called The Molecule. You
Mhm.
learn from that side. The difference from the artist side, this side is just the management. So you're tracking. Let's say a show has over 30 shots, 100 shots. Your job is to track those shots and make sure they are being worked on, they get delivered to the client, to the show,
Yeah.
uh, whereas what versions are sent, checking on the artist, make sure the statuses is good and everything, taking notes. Oh, we like this, but we don't like that. Make sure it's disseminated to where it needs to go, kind of.
Right.
And then from that, you start learning about the budget, and that's where the producer side come in and make sure, like each episode, the bids go out, get and you're on time and on budget essentially, and client
Yes.
relations. And so that's what I do now. And I was on the vendor side. Now I switched to show side, which basically means before a show would outsource the visual effects to a company, and I was
Yeah.
on that at that company. Now on the show that's outsourcing to the vendors or whatever. So
Man, I mean, I'm say this again. I'm obviously knowing you just on the outskirts, but hearing all this, there's so much there, and to go
yeah.
all the way from Baltimore to go, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
to what you're doing and running the show and putting on for people, I think is incredible.
yeah.
I guess my biggest thing that I would ask right now, before we get you out of here, do you see a lot of people like yourself now in this, or what do you feel like can be done, from even your standpoint, maybe not your standpoint, to encourage more, young people, young Black men, to get into this, because there's an opportunity here for growth. There's opportunity here to, take care of yourself financially and to work on some pretty cool projects. What do you kind of see, in the next couple of years moving forward?
I definitely it's more of us now. I see more of us now in visual effects, but
Okay.
the demand is much higher. Before I didn't, at least on the artist side, it's like just like how it was in school. It's like one of 10 or one of three, 30. At the company I was at, I think I was the only one in my office. Yeah.
Right.
So, but I think what it is now that it's getting better because now, you started with just the big six like ABC, NBC,
Yeah.
CBS, Fox, and now that you have the networks that's now pushing for content, now you have like HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix,
Yeah.
Apple TV Plus. Yeah. So the demand is higher. So now they're looking for more,
I
talent.
got
Um, I think they always can do more. You know what I mean? Like, so whatever progress you're seeing, double that, quadruple that. You still need to do more. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like on two fronts. It's education. Like I said, now that I am here, I like to show that it is proof that if you
Hmm.
got the opportunity, the resources, and the support, that you can try something different that you may not know.
Yeah.
Uh, Even if you're not on the artist, they also have, like I said, the management side. It's different things you can do in it. I think and also having kind of like, you gotta start at the grassroots, you know what I mean, at schools
Yeah.
and things like that, to know like, oh, you have another option. Like, people don't know I'm poaching people now from the editorial side, because I'm
Yeah.
like Suge Knight, like, yo, y'all tired of, you know what I mean, not getting your notes on time, yo, come on over to VFX, because it ain't, the demand is high. So I'm like, hey, we got to kind of have like our own bullpen, you know what I mean, like a train
Yeah.
to start fostering it, you know, something in that,
Right.
I think will get it going.
Right. Nah, man, that is hilarious. That's hilarious. What can we keep an eye out for that you have coming up that people can look out for? You know, moving forward.
Oh yeah, I'm on this show now by Ava DuVernay and Jill Blankenship, called Naomi. Comes on the
Yes, sir.
CW on Tuesdays at 9, but you can watch it on the CW app. It's free, or you can go to the browser. Just go on cwtv.com and it pops right up. You ain't got to sign up, anything, just play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, check that out.
Check that out. And where can people follow you on social media or anything like that? Where can they stay tapped in with?
I'm on Instagram as VFX_Poppy. And on LinkedIn, it's just Bill Hudson. Like, you'll find the hair, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, look, Bill, it was an absolute pleasure, man. Just so much wisdom. I enjoyed your stories and everything that you've been doing. And I think there's just more in store for you. So I'm definitely going to be staying tapped in, you know, already.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your time being with us today.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me, and keep doing what y'all doing. Like, keep spreading the word, keep educating, because like now somebody might see it and like, oh, maybe I can try that. You know what I mean? So keep what y'all doing.
Definitely. Not appreciate it. Will do. And thank you for those of you tuning in to another episode of Posting Black. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Made for More Entertainment. And those of you that have become donors, we appreciate you, but you can also become a donor if you're not already one. Click the link in the bottom and go over to Anchor and make sure you follow that link as well. Until next time, we'll see you. Take care and stay black.